Hi, I'm Jason Buck. I work with estate properties right up the street. I'm currently in Malaga Cove, just looking at the ocean. Ah, gosh, it is such a gorgeous day here today. In fact, the last couple days, this whole week have just been exceptional. It's October 17th, and this fall, it's got beautiful wind. It's not too heavy, and it's like 70 something degrees, and we're in a very iconic spot of Palos Verdes Estates, Malaga Cove. You can see the Spanish tile roofs on the houses. We have the school here, which was originally done in 1925. And then you have Rossler Pool. Rossler was one of our mayors. The Olmsted Estate was over there on the cliff. And what I'm doing today is, and I've been doing over the last couple months, I talk about the real estate market. What homes came on that were really neat, what went into escrow and how fast, and what sold, which was great deals. So I'm gonna try and do it here from the beach, and hopefully the camera doesn't fall over. It's such a beautiful day. And one other iconic landmark is the Haggerty Mansion. So I'm here right next to that. And if you're interested more about the history of Palos Verdes, I teach a class, and I'm happy to share that information with you. We can do a private tour, and you'll know so much about Palos Verdes. I grew up here, and I take a lot of pride talking about both the area and the rest of all the fun stuff, the plants, the birds, all those things. Oop. All right, let me get this set up. There we go. Hopefully that doesn't fall over. So basically I want to talk about homes on the market, what came on, what it went for, and things of that nature. So I haven't done this in a week, so we're going to do 2 weeks worth of material. So starting from October 2nd to the October 9th. And I also want to talk about home. I look at, so when I do active homes, it's both what newly came on, but also what was a price reduction. When I go in escrow, it's either just now, new under contract, or pending, and then what's sold. Now, I also look at the total amount of homes in that week, and this is what's kind of interesting. So if I go back to July, we were seeing 66 total homes. August, we would have 57 total homes. In September, we had 70 total homes. And then you get to this week, 39. So the market's really slowed down. I can't tell you exactly why, I'm not sure. August usually is slow because people go on vacation. But right now, the Trump stuff, perhaps with the tariffs, or just insecurity in the market, I think is what we're seeing a lot of. And that's kind of scary, but it's wild. So in that first week here, 10-2 to 10-9, 39 homes here. In the active category, 24 new homes, of which 10 of those were price reductions. If we look at how many went into escrow, we had 8 go into escrow. One of them being 4133 Rossler and 6509 Verde Ridge at 1.6. Both of those went in under 7 days. So I kind of look at what sells quickly as an indication of homes that are trading well. And then we only had 6 sales in the last week, but a couple that were somewhat significant. 1737 Via Boronada. That was a nice home, really cool architecture, great spot from the upstairs, lower Lanada Bay. I was really surprised that this one didn't move faster. It didn't need that much work, and it had such great style. I thought there was a lot you could do with it. Originally priced at 2.495, it sold for 2.187 after 119 days. That's a long time on the market, no price reductions. Another one that was just really spectacular was 529 PV Drive West. Now that's right up above us here in the section between Malaga Cove Plaza and before Bluff Cove. So it's a busier street, but this was a historic Spanish. I believe it was probably done in the 20s. It might have been the 30s. In any case, one of the hard parts there was the kitchen was downstairs. So a lot of people talked about how can you move the kitchen. But it was listed at 2.9 and sold for 3.3, and it went relatively quickly. A couple other ones, 3421 PV Drive North was a fixer. They listed it at 175, I think. And boy, this house needed a lot of work. It had potentially some issues with unpermitted structures, and so it sold for 1.6. That's a low price for Palos Verdes Estates. We also had 3905 Palos Verdes Drive South. Now that's way over on the other side of the hill, close to Trump, the golf course. and it's in the Seaview neighborhood. It's right on the drive on the corner of there, and I believe it's not Schooner, it's the other next street, and I forget that name. But in any case, they had started at 1.4-ish, and they sold for 1.335, and that's 727 a foot. So that's what's happening in terms of the landslide. It's really deteriorating prices in that area. People are very concerned, as they should be, and it's affecting values all through there. Now, typically further south from Schooner, we don't have actual movement. Like there was a home that sold on Conquer. I thought that was the best deal we've seen for 1.2. But we are the public is very concerned about the slide, and the media is not doing us any favors. Recently, like last video, I talked about the Marguerite, what they called a slide. I'm going to call a slough. It wasn't a real slide in the aspect of what's happening in Portuguese Bend. Portuguese Bend landslide is based on bentonite underneath the ground, 130 or 300 feet, and that's compressed volcanic ash, and when it gets wet, it's slippery. So all of that land is moving, and that's what's happening in that area. And anything else, like there was a slide a couple years ago, let's call it a slough, because it wasn't necessarily a landslide, it was overwatering on the cliff. It gets too much weight and it falls down. And incidentally, since I'm talking about this, if you look here on the ground, these are all gopher holes. So we have, you know, the rodent or ground squirrel, whatever you want to call it. But this is horrible for the landslide, or the, excuse me, here I said it myself, horrible for the cliff. Because now you've got all these holes, and we have a rain, all the water goes in here, it loosens up this whole hillside, and what's it going to do but slough off? So that's common in this area of what's happening, and I really wish the media could do more research or have a better understanding of that, as opposed to saying, oh, another landslide in PV, because it wasn't really a landslide. And that's something that we really need to be clear about, because it is hurting our values here. All right, if you'd want more information on that, or to know what homes I think are safer or not as safe, by all means, I am very honest, very open book, and I know the area well. All right, let's look at just the last week of what's happened. From October 9th to October 16th, once again, a really low number, 39 homes. Remember I mentioned last week was 39 as well. So not as much transactions as we're used to. Of those, 18 new active homes, of which 11 were price reductions. There was one home that actually had a price increase. That's on 13 Buggy Whip. That's behind the gates, Rolling Hills. Those are incredible estates. It went from 7 to 7.5. There was a home on Via Sanchez that's a relist in the 4s. It's kind of a big number, but it is a brand new house. Be happy to talk to you more about that if you're interested. And also another one that I thought was a really good deal was 37 Santa Cruz. That's in a gated community for 3.5. It looks really nice, and there is an ocean view. If you're in that price range, I think that one's going to go here pretty quick. That'd be one that I'd like to take you to and see, because that's a gorgeous spot. Okay, we had 9 homes go into escrow. One that was pretty interesting, 2229 Thorley Place. That's lower Lanada Bay. I like this house from the beginning as a fixer. I thought they did a great job fixing it up and making it pretty new. They listed at 4.125, and then they did a price reduction down to 3.995, and it sold. It was totally on the market for 60 days. Another one that was gorgeous was 3901 Via Carolina, listed at 2.45, and that went into escrow in 8 days. And then we look at what sold, 10 homes. Of the significant ones, 3225 Paseo Del Campo, that's in the Valmonte section. That home had a lot of concerns regarding the front yard movement, unpermitted perhaps terracing, things of that nature. It went all the way down to 2.142. Pretty decent house, good lot, but some concerns, and the buyers are really aware of these things and holding back. So those are things to be to talk to a local expert about what's happening. We had a Grayslake sell, 26753 Grayslake, beautiful home, well updated. It sold off market for $983 a foot. 1.482 was the price. So seems like a low price, but it was a bit of a smaller home, and 983. So when you look at dollar per square foot, that's not always the best registry for what a home is worth. It depends on what they put into it and what the quality of those materials. We're seeing homes now, if I look back at some of the ones that recently sold that needed work. They're in the 750 range. Homes that are in the other areas that might need work could be in the 8s. That's where the buyers really want it to be. But Palos Verdes Estates is pretty 900 and up. During COVID years, the lower Lanada Bay homes were 1,300 a foot with no view. So a view always adds on. I did see a sale back there for 1,600 a foot recently. It was a nice house. Once again, dollar per square foot is a hard way to judge the value of a home, but I can back it with comps and understanding what they put into those houses to help you define those values. Another home that I thought was just really awesome and a pretty good deal, 32353 Sea Raven. So that's off Ladera Linda. That definitely is in that area where people are concerned about the slide. It had a big ocean view, and it didn't need that much. It needed work, but not that much. I wasn't scared of that work. It was cosmetic. I don't see any issues with that property with the land. It went for 1.825. That's a deal. That's 892 square feet a foot. 63 days it took. So that's one that I would think, like, I kind of use that as my example of what's happening in the marketplace. I'm here looking out over the ocean. I thought I saw a whale. There's been some pretty good fishing offshore here. They were catching yellowtail a couple weeks ago. We had a little bit of a rain situation and the wind came. So, you know, we're definitely transitioning into fall and, you know, perhaps winter sooner than later. So, you know, a couple of things to be aware of. If you live on a hillside, you definitely want to, and you have a swale. A swale is that piece of cement that guides the water to a main drain. You definitely want to clean that swale now and start prepping for winter. If you clean your rain gutters, if you don't have rain gutters, definitely look into that. You want to control the moisture around your home, and they're predicting a rain season. So you really want to be aware of these things and be ready for it when it comes, because once it's here, you're not going to be able to go out there and fix it. So if you got questions or you want me to come and give suggestions about your home, what you should do or be aware of, or things to look at, I'm happy to do that. It's free and easy. I was at a house today that had some pretty significant dry rot, and I suggested that they get it fixed now rather than allow that to get worse through the winter season. And you know, just gave them a little synopsis of what I saw around the property. And I've been looking at homes professionally for 26 years now, so I have a good idea of what would be a smart idea to address. In any case, I'm an open book, happy to chat with you. Just give me a call or write me a line, and we'll go from there. But thanks a lot for watching, and make it a great day.